In this video, I want to show you just a tip as to how to improve the audio quality for video recordings, or audio recordings for that matter. And it reflects the use of reverb rather than just a fairly dead and cold audio recording without any sense of presence or space. I've separated the audio track from the video track from one of the Christmas program tracks, Once in Royal David City. I've opened it in Audacity, which is a free audio editor, not the most comprehensive and not the best quality, but very usable and produces quite good results for free. That's always an advantage. So let me first of all just play this track, or a section of this track, just where the vocal starts to come in, without any special processing. So this is just as the audio appeared on the original video. So let's just replay that, but this time we're going to add some reverb. And by the way, where you find this in Audacity is to go to Effects up there, run down to Reverb, then you get, oops, sorry about that, need to actually select the audio first, so let's just do that. That selects everything, up to Effect, down to Reverb, and you get this wonderful table. Now, I'm actually going to just leave this as standard. It's a relatively mild implementation of reverb. You can play with these various settings to change it. One of the most significant changes would be in the room size and the degree of reverberation, and whether you have the wet only ticked or not. Wet in this context means just the reverb signal, whereas if you have that unticked, then there's a mix of the so-called dry and wet signals, where the dry is the unprocessed original signal along with the wet. So if we don't tick that box, we get the mix of dry and wet, so-called. And you can preview it, but to my mind the preview is actually too short to be terribly useful. But I'm just going to accept all of these settings as they are. Click OK. It takes a moment to process, and there we are. So I'm now going to try and pick up that start again. There we go, something here. So that's it with reverb. Let me just, as a reminder, take that off and play it again. So one of the main things to note here is never overdo any audio effects, or it just sounds false. But what you want to do is just add a little bit of space, a little bit of life to the overall sound, and it takes some of the harshness off it and it makes for a more pleasant listening experience. So that's a tip for you. If you have a higher quality audio processing package, then by all means use it. But this is simple, straightforward, and free. Final comment would be that if I was doing this, if I was recording this in the first instance, I would try to separate out the tracks. That depends a lot on your setup and whether you have a digital audio workstation that you can feed from digital inputs, which makes life much easier. But if you can have separate tracks for the vocal and for the accompaniment, or indeed for all of the individual instruments, then you would have much more capability. Now, if you can do that, then I would suggest simply adding some reverb, again subtly, to the vocal, and don't worry so much about the instrumentation. One other related but different tip would be to just watch the mix, or the balance, if you like, of the levels of accompaniment and vocal. Now that's a matter of judgment. But if you have a single instrument, as this does in the introduction at least, then it's relatively easy to achieve. The main reason for this was just to highlight what a little bit of reverb can do to enhance the listener's experience. One thing that experience has taught many sound mixers or video producers is that the audio quality on a video production is actually more significant than the video production. Your listeners and viewers will be much more tolerant of relatively poor video quality and much less tolerant of poor audio quality. So it's worth spending a little bit of time and effort to get the audio quality to a level that really is demonstrates some finesse and creates a good, satisfactory, comfortable audio experience for the listeners.